Before I say anything, I just want to give honor and glory and praise to who deserves it all, who is God, who has enabled me to be here. I wouldn't have even been living if there was no God in heaven. And so I just want to take this moment and acknowledge and appreciate and thank my God, my dad in heaven. Before I start anything, I also want to appreciate some few people that have helped me through this journey. It has been a journey, and I wouldn't have made it. I have zero idea on how to write a book, but God has brought people in my life that has taken part in every area, in every part of it. And if you think this is a good job, that's because it's not just me involved. So I want to first appreciate and thank, and I know my mom is watching and my family. They have stood with me. Obviously, my mom has been there since my birth, and it is so good. They say when you have a good mom, you won a lottery, and I think I won big time because I would never have asked for a better mom. She is, and she truly is one in billions, and I so honor her. I would have put a picture, I forgot. But I know, Mom, you're watching. You're one in billions. I love you more than words can explain. The next person to thank is my mother and father, my spiritual mom and dad, Pastor Dr. Phineas and Lady Joyce. Thank you so much. I really thank you. Thank you for taking me under your wings. I was pretty broken. It wasn't showing, but I was in pieces. And I thank God for your sensitivity in the spirit that you sensed something and you asked my story because I didn't know how to approach you. I didn't know if I should approach you. And when I did, you encouraged me, you stood with me, you have brought me up like a baby because I was a baby in the spirit. I was not feeding that kid. So she was very emaciated. But I have grown, I have watched my life grow in a very fast pace. And thanks to you. Thank for the work you're doing. Thank you, Lady Joyce. My coach has left, and so I wanted to say, he is my coach. He has guided me. He agreed with me. This is something that people need to know. And so I took the action and put it into writing. And so Dr. Charles Kenodia is my coach, and I really honor God for him because he's been a big part of this book. Miss Jackie Godu, like you said, we met in a very weird way, but look what God has done. I thank you for that session you held to show us how to write because I was at very low level of writing, but you guided us step by step. I asked you all kind of questions, and you never got tired. Thank you. May God bless you. Miss Diana, thank you so much for coming. It was a very short notice, but you showed up. I'm very honored to have you here. Reverend Ruth, I know you from way back in Alabama. You've stood with me. You've prayed me back to health, and I am who I am today because people like you prayed me back to health. And you didn't let me die. I can't mention all of you, but I am really honored right now. I can't even tell you how happy I am to see your faces. Most of you that we know each other personally, and some of you not yet, but I really appreciate you for being here. May God bless you. So, where do we start? Let me start with telling you that when I was growing up, way before the TV and technology made it to my village, we used to sit around the fire, and my big brother, was the entertainer of the family. So we would look at him as he told us stories, and these stories varied from exciting, dramatic, and horrific, even very horrific. It gave us kids very sleepless nights. We would hold on to each other for long hours without being able to go to sleep because the story was too horrific. And so I want to share with you one of the stories he told us. He told us about this little village that was set up very close to a huge forest. And the people in this little village were farmers, and they used to rear crops and raise some livestock. And so there was also in the big forest, it came out a fox. Anybody know fox? Yes, a fox. He eats meat and discovered there was plenty to eat in this village. So he discovered there's no need of me hunting. So I'll go to this village every night when these villagers go to sleep, and I'll catch something. I'll get one of their livestock and eat it. And so that's what he did for a while. But you see, since the villagers didn't have much livestock, they noticed pretty quick. Someone was stealing or eating their livestock. And so they waited one day and decided, we're going to wait out with weapons to see if we can catch who the thief was. And that's what they did. So the fox, obviously not aware, he came as usual and tried to get one of the goats or one of the animals. But the villagers came out of hiding and tried to catch him. Obviously, and lucky for him, he was much faster than most of the villagers. And so he managed to escape. But the villagers wanted to make sure that he would never return to that village. So they chased after him, even after he left the village. And so what happened was, he got to the next village and discovered these people are not letting me go. So I better hide because they're going to kill me. And so looking up at that point, he noticed a small homestead next to on the side of the road. And there was this woman standing outside. And so he feared, what if I go? Maybe she might save me. And so he went to her and pleaded with her to help him save his life because some people are trying to kill him for nothing. And so the woman, obviously not aware that the fox was lying, she decided to hide the fox and told the fox to go hide inside her one-roomed hut where her baby was sleeping. Now, the villagers eventually got to the woman and asked her, did you see that fox that ran this way? The woman nodded and said, yes, he went that way. And so the fox inside the house discovered, oh, I think I'm safe. So he came out of the hut and thanked the woman. He sighed with relief and said, thank you for saving my life. But as soon as he did that, before the woman could say welcome, the fox yawned loudly and said, but I am so hungry. I haven't eaten since last night. Looking around, the fox discovered this woman has nothing to eat. She had no livestock. It was her and her little baby. And the fox, a hungry fox, thinks of eating. So he remembered there was a baby sleeping in the room. What did he do? He went right back in the room, got the baby and ate it. Before the woman could say, how can you do that? I hid you. I took care of you. I protected you. The fox was like, oh, well, thank you. I'm sorry. I was hungry. But even now, the baby is too little. I didn't get full. And so I'm sorry. I have to eat you too. Before the woman could do anything, he jumped on her, killed her, and ate her too. Now, I think you see why we went to bed with because that's the end of the story. He did not tell us nothing else. He left it at that, hanging. And now we have to figure out what was the fox, you know. But 20 years or more, I've discovered what the fox represented. The fox is domestic violence. The fox is domestic violence. We are hiding behind closed doors. And we don't discover that we are hiding something so serious. It thrives behind closed doors in the dark. When you open that door and let people know, things change. Things change. But it comes with some kind of shame attached to it that you're afraid to say anything. You feel like, what will people say? They will judge me. But if you know what you're hiding, if you look at it in the form of a fox and realize this thing is not going to leave you, it just doesn't end. Just because you pray it, it's not a thing that you pray about. It's not a thing that you hold hands or fast. It's something you have to approach in a different way. It's not a spirit of a spirit that wants to hit you. No, this is way deeper than that and need way more intervention than we do apply. So let me make this story real, because maybe most of us don't know what a fox is. So I knew this girl a few years ago. Her name was Eva. Eva, nice young lady, good character, great personality, but very low self-esteem. And so Eva, in her late 20s, she met a young, charming man named Rex. And Rex had the looks. He was looking good. He was hardworking. And he was a very good Christian man. She perceived something she valued. And so what Eva did, she started dating Rex. And in a couple of months, it didn't go long. After 2 months, Rex proposed. Eva knew it's a little too early to commit to a serious relationship because I barely know this man. But he was so charming. He looks promising. He looks like he can be a potential husband. And so, coupled with her low self-esteem, she was afraid to say no because she will offend him. She's more worried about offending him than making the right decision. But as soon as she said yes, things started happening. She started noticing red flags everywhere. They pop up from everywhere. And now she's already in the marriage. She can't just get out. But now she's seeing a different Rex. It was shown in the beginning. And so what happened? She had to stay. But before 4 years into the marriage, very troubling marriage. Not really, nothing fun, just living it. She was hit for the first time. He became physical. But you see, prior to this, she had endured emotional abuse, mental abuse, economical, even sexual abuse. But it's until he hit her for the first time, and she decided, okay, I can't do this. She left the marriage. When she left the marriage, Rex followed her and said, look, I'm sorry, I don't know what came over me. I will not do it again. Please come back home. She had her mind made up. She said, no, I don't want to come with you. This is it. I don't want to be in that marriage. But Rex was determined. And so after begging her and noticing that she's not going to give in, he went through her closest family and friends and begged her, please talk to her. It was a mistake, and it will not happen again. And so they talked to her, and they talked to her, and they talked to her. And she decided, well, okay, probably, maybe. He decided to change. And so she went back. And Rex did change. He changed for a while. But because he never hit her again, but those things, the condition, the situation at the home did not improve at all. And it was until right after they got their child that she discovered, oh, this will never change. Things will never improve in this place. And so she was trying to strategize how to get out of that marriage because it had turned scary. She was scared. And she was scared for her and for her child. She could tell something could go wrong anytime. And so before she could hatch a perfect escape, Rex suspected that he's losing control and this lady might leave. And so he came up with a perfect plan to make sure that Eva will never leave. And if she did, no one else will ever want her. Do you want to see Rex's plan? Do you want to see Rex's plan? Please. That was me. That was me in November 2013. That was the perfect plan to make sure that Eva will never go anywhere. And if she goes, I'll make sure that no one else will ever look at her. But like I said, there's a God in heaven. There is a God in heaven who decided otherwise. And as you can tell, I hid the fox very well in my own home. I kept him safely, hoping that no one will realize that I'm going through this, hoping that my closest friends didn't know that I was crying inside. And I covered it so well that no one did. No one did until this happened. And this is the place where the fox ate the woman. And that's when we start saying, why was she in this marriage? Why didn't she leave? Why didn't she say anything? It's until it's so bad that we decide to speak. Now, why did I write this book? Because, as you can see, God made a way. God created a miracle. I don't look like that today. I don't look like that today. Just, God decided to give me a second chance. God decided to do something beautiful with something so messy, like only Him can. But why did I write the story? Why did I write the story? Because, as you can see, God perfected my skin. Nobody knows. I have to tell Him. I have to tell you or show you the picture. So why did I write the story? It felt really good. In fact, I escaped. I came from that city. I exited even the state. I decided to go somewhere and start fresh. And I came here and I fit right in. No one, I apply a smile, I apply my makeup. Nobody knows what I've been through. But look, the fact that I hide it very well doesn't mean that it did not affect me. And this is what I don't want to see affecting anybody else. This is why I wrote this book. First off, before anything else, is to give God all the glory that He deserves. Because, like Ms. Diana said, people die. Anything would have happened that day. Anything would have happened, and I would be 6 feet under. I would never have been able to live to tell my story. But God decided, I will save you for this assignment. Go and save someone else. And this is why this, more than anything, is a testimony of the healing power of our God. You see, my skin peeled off from here all the way down to here. This is brand new skin that you see today. God decided to implant brand new skin on me. Not because I deserved it, but because He wanted to show His magnificent work. And for that, we can live to tell that, yes, God heals. Now I know him as a healer for myself. And now you can tell he's a healer because you can tell the difference. I used to scare the kids. When they come to see me in the hospital, they ran back to their mama, saying, no, that's a monster. And today I'm supposed to be walking down the street with people staring at me, wondering what happened to me. But God changed that for me. And so more than anything, I'm filled with gratitude right now. This doesn't, it's not even about self-pity, it's not even about sympathy. I just wanted to do this more than anything to thank God and to show you, if you're in that condition, if you're in a situation, it doesn't have to be abuse, that you feel like you are pushed against the wall. Call on that name. Call on that name. He will rescue you. So, but the second reason I decided to tell this is because, and God kind of had me do this because he wanted his power to be seen. God wants to be glorified in his work in our lives. He wants to be acknowledged for what he does. And so if we keep quiet and decide not to tell of what he has done for us, then we have no way for letting other people know that he can do it for them. So the next reason I decided to do it is because it had a big part of disobedience on my side, on my part. Because when this guy proposed, we were friends. And as you heard on the story, in 2 months, he proposed. And everything was fine until he proposed. That's when I realized, I felt the heaviness in my heart. I felt, this is not right. Something is wrong about this. I felt it in my heart. And I knew something, I don't know about God speaking because I wasn't like that deep in the things of God, but I knew something was not right. And I could tell that voice was saying, no, don't get married to this guy. Don't say yes. But you see, he's speaking very sweet words. And so I'm having to fight between that internal feeling with very sweet words, a man who knows what he's talking about and who knows what I want to hear, and he's saying right on the point. And so I went with the man. And so that meant I disobeyed the voice of God because that was God telling me in my tummy, listen, this is not for you. Listen, guys, before I go any further. God knows what's best for us. In Jeremiah 29:11, I hope, or I believe, it says that God's plan for our lives are for good and no disaster. God created you and put you here, and he wants to guide you down the best path to your own future. But then we argue with him, like we know. And we can't see the next thing behind this wall. Yet we argue. If we could follow that instinct, that little voice, we would avoid a lot of trouble. If anybody here is single and want to get married at some point, please don't look at your watch. It has nothing to do with anything. You can be 40, you can be 8, it doesn't matter how old you are. That is not the point. The point is, what is it saying down in your soul? Is this the point? Is this the route to take? Because God knew this guy can turn like this. I didn't. He was covered with very charming look. Like you saw on that video, guys that turn out like this, they don't show up. You cannot tell the signs. You can never tell it. In fact, they are extra nice. And you are like, okay, I hit a jackpot. No, you're about to end up in a bad place. You see? So if you feel that thing, if you feel that itch, it doesn't mean say no. Maybe you can hold on and find out what it is that God is trying to warn you against, because you could save your own life. And so, for me to write this book, I believe it's God saying, go and tell my other children what happens when they disobey. What happened? What could happen And so I decided I made enough mistakes. I cannot afford another one. By saying no to that, I walked right into a big fish tummy, like Jonah in the Bible, not knowing what I'm doing. But it took me, the same person, going into that and realizing this tummy is not a very conducive place to be. It's very uncomfortable. And I asked God to forgive me because I did not listen to him. And he created a way. As bad as that picture looks, I believe it was God creating a way, because it would have turned much worse. And that the reason I didn't tell you the story is obviously because it's in the book. So, disobedience. So what about our identity? Why was I having low self-esteem in the first place? Why? Because if I knew who I am as in relation to my dad who is in heaven, then I shouldn't feel inferior. I shouldn't feel that low self-esteem. But why do we have these insecurities? Could it be because we don't know our identity? Could it be because we don't embrace what our Father says about us? See, in 1 Peter 2:9, it says, "We are the holy nation, a royal priesthood, a chosen generation for God's own possession, so he can take us and show his magnificent, his excellent work." He's supposed to use us to do his excellent work. Did any one of us think that was excellent? Are we showing God's excellence by doing that? Why are we hurting each other? Why are we doing these things to each other? Because when I went into this marriage, my pure goal was, I'm going to make a home. It's time. I'm 28. All my age mates are married. They even have kids. And so I rushed to the next thing that came to my life. And what I'm telling you today is, what seems easy is not always the best. Don't let pressure from parents, from friends, from society, from traditions push you into doing something that you know is against God's will for your life. Because he will know, you will know that this is not God's will for me. Because you feel that uneasiness. Follow God's guiding. In whatever area, you see, these big fish are still here. They're still living. They don't have to be in the water. They're still here. They are relationships. They are marriages. They are jobs that we take knowing very well that this is going against what God is telling me, yet we take them. So, how did I heal? How did I heal of such words? Not just physically. How am I able to stand here today and tell my story? Because I was good. God has changed, had decided to give me a second chance, restore my looks, and I could go on with life like everybody else. You see, and nobody has to know that I went through this. But it took a lot more the healing. And the thing is, when we go through something as traumatic, at first we are traumatized. We are numb. I was very numb. I couldn't tell what that was me. For the first few days, I didn't know if I was living. I was just there. I didn't know if I was supposed to cry or to laugh. I didn't know. I was just stuck, like in a zombie mode. And now, after a few days, that cleared, because I'm in denial. I'm like, this can't be me. How? It cannot be me. Because I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, no. And so I avoided the mirror. I avoided it. But now, I have to face this situation. My whole chest had second-degree burns. And so it had to be dressed. I had to go back to the hospital. It had infections. I stayed in the hospital for a few days. So for me to heal from that level, so some of these things we go through, you fall far, down too far. It will take the hand of God to reach down and pull you up. But God did. He healed me. But not without a fight. Not without a fight. Obviously I decided, look, I was a good woman. I wanted to make a home. It did not work. I gave my best. But being good does not pay. Because if this is what I get for being good, maybe I would rather just be bad. Let me just do life like everybody else is doing. And so I went out there. I went crabbing. I went having life. I discovered Baileys. Thank God you don't know what that is. And it was keeping me company. I could not go I would rather miss milk in the house than not have Baileys because it comforted me. I hid behind that glass of wine. It kept me warm. For a few minutes, I could forget what's going on because I was still fighting with the fact that just being good has brought me to this, you know. And so Baileys was not doing it though, you know. After I got sober, after a whole night in the club, I would still come home and sober up with a lot of hangover, you know. And now I have to face the situation right back. I have an 8-month-old when this happened. What do? Sell her on Amazon? What? And she's looking up to me. She has no idea what is going on. I don't have anybody. My family is back home to hold her while I recover. So I'm recovering while still being a mother. I'm recovering, trying to save someone else's life. And so this baby is looking up to me to be a mother, and I have no idea who I am at this point. Because what abuse does, it takes your confidence, it takes your pride, it takes your dignity. By the time you leave that place, you don't know who you are. You went there a woman, you went there a lady, you come out confused. Where do I start now? I went there a single girl. Now I have a child that I need to support. What do I do in the meanwhile? While someone else is having life somewhere after doing something like that. And so that, you see, when I was in Africa, way before I came here, I was in sales and marketing. And that career is like going to a university and taking a course on rejection. Rejection 101, because, you know, it's hard, it's really hard, and you don't understand it. Because I have to go door to door and knock on people's door in offices with very distinguished middle-aged men wearing their suits, sitting behind big desks, looking real good, and you have to knock in the door and say, "Hello, sir, can I sell you this service that I'm providing?" And it depends on who you fight. You knock in 5 offices, and you meet with 4 big no's. They'll shut the door to your face. And so I used to personalize that, and I say, why didn't they like me? I didn't even finish explaining my business, you know, and they say no, you know? And I used to internalize that and feel like there was something wrong with me. And then I went to rejection 201. I discovered it could be they don't like what I'm offering. It doesn't mean I'm bad. So I decided to separate me from my services. And so I pictured it as someone holding a rock, a stone like this, and hitting you. That's rejection. You can hold it, catch it, and hold on to it. Or you can duck and let it pass. So I discovered, okay, if these people throw stones at me, all I know is to duck, and the stone will pass. And so it didn't faze me. I got betrayed. It didn't faze me. I gone to different places People talk about it. It didn't. I grew stronger and harder. Life hardened me. But now when this happened, I thought I was hard. This was not a stone. This was a rock. It fell on me. It crushed me, every part of me. And I stayed down there and messed around in that mud for a long time. And like I said, God reached down, pulled me up, and I am here standing today. And so, like I said, if the Bible says we are kings and queens, what I say is, why don't we act like it? Why are we not acting like the kings and queens? Because somebody who knows is a king don't have to do something like that. Kings don't rule from a place of force. Kings rule from a place of confidence. In fact, if you have watched a movie with a king, they don't shout. This person can't tell what the king said. They call you like this. And I'm not saying that we bow down to kings. What I'm saying is, be confident in who you are as a king. Look for your identity. Look for your strength from God. Let him strengthen you. Let him show you which weak areas you're supposed to deal with. You see, this is what I've discovered. When we were brought up, we were brought through our parents. But we are seeds from heaven. God planted that seed into your mother's womb. And now he used that because he needed you to have that genetic composition. And so you're not from your parents. You see, my last name is Keinama. Not many people can even pronounce that. It's weird, you know? But that is the person that God chose for me to come through. And if that's the case, I'm not supposed to identify myself so much like with Keinama, because Keinama cannot open any door. But God can. And so if I take ownership of my Keinama, I honor him. I honor him. He's in heaven now, and I know you hear me, Dad. But I have to acknowledge that I'm a seed from God. And he dropped me here with that kind of genetic composition for a certain assignment. But look at this, how abuse does. Let's say this big ball like this here is your purpose. Because we are here for a purpose, each one of us, for a reason. And that's your purpose. And you're starting right here. Between this point to that point, there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of distraction. And so God will bring these things. We'll walk you through if you pay attention to his voice. But now the enemy will trap you. Between here and there, he will put people, he will put things, he will put jobs, he will put marriages that are supposed to stop you, meant to stop you. You know, when we were kids, we have like two groups of kids. There are bigger kids and smaller kids. And so I'm part of that smaller kids. So me and my squad, which is my brother and my sister, we were very mischievous. And we realized my brothers and sisters, the older ones, they are too serious. And so we would try to get their attention. And so when they would be walking in a dark street, we will wait in the dark. You know, there was no electricity. And so it gets real dark in the village. And so we will wait, hiding in a low flower bush, and then when they pass by, we will put our feet like that. And they'll stumble, and they'll fall, depending on how fast they are going. Sometimes we are going the wrong direction, and we are not going slowly. We are fast towards the wrong direction. And what do? All we need is for the devil to take that thing, his foot, and put it this way. You know what devil uses as a foot? Is your insecurities. We have to go back. Travel back in your mind to your childhood and figure out what is it that made you feel insecure. What made this insecurity come up? Because we were brought pure from heaven. We came as pure babies. And now we have insecurities. I don't feel like I'm good enough. You don't feel like you are good, you are handsome enough, you are beautiful enough. Who planted these seeds in us? Because if we don't address these areas, we will stumble and we stumble other people. We will keep messing other people's life. This guy that did this, he's a queen, he's a king. He just don't know it. He just don't know it. He feel like holding on to me, that control thing, he has to control. I have to take control of you. You cannot control anybody else than yourself, just yourself. And so what happens is, if we don't go back, because if you saw your parents fighting, does that mean that's what you're going to solve your conflicts with? Does it mean that's how you're going to address your situations? Does it mean that's the right way to solve situations? You see, we pick up these things. And now what we are doing, the worst part we are doing is we are taking the same issues and planting them on our kids. We are passing them on. When this happened, my daughter was 8 months, like I said. She was right there. She watched the whole thing. Today, she's 5 years old. Guess what her biggest nightmare is? From 8 months to 5 years old, her biggest nightmare, she runs into my room crying, "Mom, are you okay?" Because she dreamt someone was attacking me. Amen. If at 8 months old she could grab that memory and keep it, what are we planting in our seeds, in our children? How you address your issues at home is going to have a big impact on your children's life. If you fight in their presence, if you argue in their presence, they are going to take that with them. It doesn't matter they go to Harvard. It doesn't matter they have the best paying job. They will have dysfunctional relational lives. They will go as high as they can go, yet they cannot control their impulses. Yet they will have messed up agents on the inside. You cannot take that out. You see, I have grown in 2 areas. See, like when we were growing up, my mom was a single mom. And so my dad passed when I was 10. And so my mom struggled to raise 8 kids. And so poverty was like our third name. You know what I'm saying? It was so there. You know, if this is the poverty level, we were down there, all the way down. But I have lived in poverty. I have lived in misery, because living in that kind of marriage is misery. That's not marriage, that's misery. But I would rather be in poverty. Because you know what poverty does? It makes you think. It works on your critical thinking. It gives you ideas. How do I get money? You get a job, you start a business, but in this situation, you don't think. Like she said, it's oppression. Your mind is oppressed. You have to get out of this situation. You have to stop. Some of us, because we grew up in these homes where we watched our parents fight all the time, it looked normal to us. It's still normal to us. We feel like this is the best way I can do this. How do I gain respect from this woman? She's not respecting me. You hit. Maybe because you saw it growing up. Maybe because it's what's normal for you. But it's not the right way. You have to work on that aging, your mental aging, whatever hardware that was implanted in you, and discover, as much as you're trying to keep this woman from doing whatever she's supposed to do, it's keeping you from realizing your own purpose. Because like if Steve Jobs was an abuser, and he had the idea of an iPhone, and now he abused his wife. Don't tell him I used him in this example. But see, if he abused his wife, and he was taken to jail for years, but the idea of Apple is still in the mind, who was he going to share it with? His cellmate. How much is that going to help the world? Because if you go to jail, that's exactly the only person you can share it with, your jailmates. And so that keeps your light down. You oppressed this woman, and so her light is down too. These children can never realize their purpose as they are supposed to, because now they have things in their mind they have to work on. You see? So for more than anything, because in this marriage, as much as I knew it wasn't the right thing, initially I I was confused. Do the other marriages look like this? Is this really marriage? Is this how it looks like? Is this how it feels like? Because when I see people laughing, smiling in the car, I'm like, how come mine is not like that? How come I don't enjoy that kind of joy? You see, I knew something was wrong, but until it happened physically, I wasn't able to connect the dots because I saw my mom growing up, raising us alone. And so I've never seen her abuse anybody, being abused. And so when it became physical, why did I stay? I wanted to please. I don't know who was I trying to please anyway? Who? Because living, I felt like I'll be judged. By who? People who don't care nothing about you. When this happened, they were the first ones to talk. Why was she there? Why did she stay? You know, now, this is if you are here and you're hearing this message, whether online or here, and you know in your heart that you feel threatened, that you feel this is a place that can turn out to be real bad, can take your life, is affecting your children's life, I do not say divorce, no. But I can say, get your children and yourself from that situation. This person has to be actively working on himself. You cannot change them. This is a deep-rooted issue that they have to work on themselves. You cannot help this person. So what you can do, the best thing you can do, because God made you guardian over these children, is to remove them from this toxic relationship, from this toxic situation. Let's stop introducing this mess into our children's mind. Let us keep our kids' mind healthy. There's no need of you see, we worry about what they are watching on YouTube all the time. But you are the biggest screen TV they will ever see. How I act today is how I saw my mother act. It has a big part on how I behave, on how I handle things, on how I raise my child. Little modification because of the time, but it's so hard. So you're the biggest screen TV this child will ever watch. How you are carrying your life, how you are handling issues, how you are handling your marriage shows how they are going to handle. And so in my mind I think, what if we create, because we have all broken, in a way you are broken. We are dealing with different brokenness. Because growing up in poverty is what gave me that low self-esteem. I felt like everyone has better than me. People are dressing better than me. People are going to better schools, and my mother cannot afford this. But because I was afraid, oh, man, I wish I was like her. I wish I could dress like her. That gave me that low self-esteem. You see? So now, looking back, I realized, okay, that was the condition I was raised in. It doesn't have to be me. And so I take that part of knowing that I can live better, I can do better, and God can bless me just like He has blessed other people. And work and realize that does not have to keep me down. So what is the issue that is making you feel so insecure that you'd rather hurt someone else than watch them go? Why? Why do you feel so low of yourself? If you are king, if you are queen, which queen accepts to be slapped aloud? I did it. I accepted that kind of treatment. Just because I didn't know I was a queen. If I didn't know what God thinks of me. I didn't know that God thinks me as royalty. But now that I know, I decided this kind of treatment will not happen to me. And to make sure it will never happen to my child, I have to do something about it. And so I'll have to bring this awareness. It will take me, it will take Diana, it will take everybody else that has gone through this to come up and say, let's address this issue. Let's talk to these people. If you have a problem, if you have real issues, you can get help with therapy. But I say that, you see, the therapy, when you go to a therapist, they trace your childhood. They ask you, how did you grow up? How was your home made up? How was your parents? How is your relationship with your teachers, with your parents, with your siblings? And they tend to help you spot where the problem is. This is something we can do. I know where my problem started, and you know where your problem started. And now that you know who your father is, now that you know God is your father, and the Bible tells you who you are, seek God. He will heal those issues, and we won't have things like this. We will not have to kill each other. We will not have to take somebody to the grave, to an early grave, because they died in an abusive relationship, and leave so many kids desolate, worried about what happened to mom. Why did dad do that? And they have to fight trauma for the rest of their lives. We can stop this. We can stop this. We will stop this. And so, as hard as it was to tell my story, because I'm not like that kind of a person. When I know God wanted me to share this story, I chose two of my closest friends that I have discovered they don't talk much. So they will not gossip about it. Because I wasn't sure I want people to know about it. And so I told them secretly, oh, this is what happened to me. This is what happened to me. But I knew God wanted me to share it in a larger way. He wanted me to share it in the form of a book. I fought that, I fought it, and I fought it. But then I realized I'm about to go back to that well. No, I can't afford to be disobedient again. And this is a sign of obedience. If it saves one life, it's worth it. If it saves one family, it's worth it. The devil is after our families. We can save them. Work on your issues separately. Work on them. We don't have to break our families. For us, some of us don't know when we are going through abuse, when we are abusing someone else, because these are things we are saying. We used to hear them being said, and you're saying them carelessly, not knowing you are wounding someone else. Doing them carelessly, not knowing you are wounding someone. So how about because this, I listed a bunch of them. I put some resources where you can learn how to deal with this and where to go for help. This is a manual to help someone. And at the rate this thing is growing, 24 people, 24 per minute. Right now we've been here. Between now and the next 5 minutes, 24 times 5 people are going through abuse. That's a huge number. And it's a matter of minutes before it gets to you. And we don't act until it reaches us. I will never be here talking about abuse if I never went through it. And so don't wait that long. It doesn't feel good. It's a bad feeling. Take the initiative, share this book, spread this story. Not just, I don't need popularity, not like this. There are better ways I can get popular. Not like this. This is to help stop this kind of issues. We have to stop it. Anyway, anyhow. And I pray and I thank you for helping me stop this. Thank you.